So let's talk about the social media things. Everybody's brought it up at the table so far. Tell me why it's important, or why it isn't. Nick?
I think the social media for us it's really about what's going on today. It's sometimes I feel like it's a Me Too thing because everybody's doing it, but if that's the way that people are communicating, I've been in this business for 26 years, so I look at things and I say, we've never had it, we've never done it, but that's not what got us here isn't going to get us there, kind of thing. So you have to look at social media and say that's the way that people communicate now, especially younger people and decision makers, and that's what they're doing, and everybody's on it. So you have to really understand why it's important. And I don't use Facebook that much myself, but as a company, we use it considerably. And I find internally and externally, or internal marketing especially, is great. Because using it for birthdays and announcements and things that where you used to use a marketing letter, it almost becomes a virtual marketing letter going on constantly all the time and recognition. Right. So we use it a lot for that, and externally it's great for our clients to see that the human side of us and the things that we do, and it's not so much promotional, but that we're out there and we're alive.
So that's an interesting word. You're using it for the human side. Is the social media the way that we humanize ourselves now? What are you doing with it, Alan?
Well, we struggled in the beginning. We had clients that were doing more social media than we were doing, and we were sort of like you shared, we were the last ones to the party and paying attention to it. And so as we got behind, it became an initiative that focused on, okay, how do you recruit in today's marketplace? And that's largely word of mouth. If people aren't talking about you and they're not aware that you have a position open, you're struggling to find the right people. And so social media has really benefited us from a recruiting standpoint.
So find the right people in terms of recruiting employees or recruiting customers?
Well, really recruiting employees is almost on equal par with recruiting clients now. Finding the right person to fill the right role I think has become as tricky as it's been in 25 years for us. And social media seems to play into that. The other day we were looking for a grandma operator, and literally I Facebook the LD for a major act, and she shot me back via Facebook, hey, call these 3 guys. And that's the first time in my life I've found subcontractors over Facebook. But it was quick, and it was the answer that I needed.
So besides Facebook, LinkedIn,
LinkedIn.
What else is going on? What are you guys doing, Mike?
We're doing Facebook and LinkedIn. We admittedly still struggle with it. Our effort in updating those social media outlets has not been as consistent as I would have liked to seen. But the one thing we do realize is that when you look at the metrics for social media, the phenomenal outreach that you can achieve to mass audiences for a very, very low cost point. It's basically hiring a 26-year-old college, recent college graduate to sit and update, as long as your media is relevant and current. If it's not, I would suggest don't even dabble in it. Either be in it for real and 100%, or don't be in it at all. Because I think by being in it in a half-hearted effort sends a bad signal.
So what's the ROI of being in it? Let me ask it differently. What's the ROI of not being in it? If you don't do social media, what's at risk?
Well, 25 years ago, you would ask the question, what's the relevance of not having a pager? All your friends were getting pages.
Or being in the
yellow page.
Being in the yellow pages.
I was in every yellow page book in every city in every in the country.
Absolutely.
That was my entire marketing budget. And now I think it just makes you look like you're behind the times.
Sure. And if you're advertising yourself as a relevant company, you understand communication, you understand what's going on in the marketplace, and you're not in Facebook, or you're not in LinkedIn, or you're not a part of YouTube and posting information that way, you've alienated yourself from what you're trying to campaign on, which is we understand what's going on, let's be a part of your solution.
And it all ties into your marketing efforts too. I mean, you're doing a lot of SEO, and you're trying to get your name out there in Facebook and LinkedIn. I mean, there's so many attachments to those that searches will come up with your company's name more and more often.
So is the tactical goal then of social media still to drive people back to your website?
It's to drive people back to your company, so your website, yes, and just familiarity. The recruiting side of it, absolutely. Yeah. And we want to recruit young people, And the young people, that's how they communicate. That's
Well, apparently not all the young people, because they've all left Facebook. It's just the grandparents, right?
yeah. My parents are on Facebook now.
Yeah, that's yeah.
As are mine. They know a lot more about it than I do. I'm always impressed when they.
So apparently the wrong generation's in charge of the social media initiatives.
That's really fun when they're posting on your company Facebook page.
But while the older marketplace has really grown in that area, you can't ignore that when anyone is looking for information in your company, they're going to hit your website far briefer than they would have 5 years ago. It's going to be a quick hit, see what you got, because that's one-way communication. That's just what you decide to put up there. But they'll go to your Facebook. They may not be on they may not be on Facebook themselves a lot, but when they want to find out about you, I think they'll go to your Facebook and they'll see what's out there. They'll look at images, they'll look at comments, and then they're paying attention to that, even if they're not constantly a part of it.
So one of the elephants in the room when business owners talk about social media in their business is their employees have a personal social media life, which sometimes may not reflect the culture, the image that you want for your organization. How do you face that?
We haven't crossed that too much as far as people getting their personal Facebook mixed up with our company. So fortunately, that hasn't been a problem for us, but I could see where it could be.
Yeah, because what happens is they're on their personal Facebook. They've liked your company page. They like something that you posted, or they make a comment on it. Oh yeah, I was on that show. And then somebody says, "Man, that show was awful. Oh yeah, we had this problem."
Yep.
Yeah, you run that risk.
Is that
like you, Nick? Fortunately, it hasn't really been a real problem for us, but I could understand how it potentially could be.
So that was kind of like a pandemic scare 2 or 3 years ago. Was it just short-lived? People realized that.
No, I think it's real, but it also goes back to your people and who you hire and how they manage their own lives and what they do. So, it's going to happen sooner or later. Someone's going to do something, but it's
no
just
way
more
to present. If
it's just
someone's
more
a malicious person, they definitely, the social media outlets definitely afford the opportunity for that person to do harm. Well, like you said, you try to hire the right people, try to do the right thing by your employees, treat them the right way, and hopefully, they'll reward you by not partaking in that negativity.
And the conversation really comes down to, we try to encourage it. Hey, we want you to use it. This is fantastic. Use it appropriately. Set some tracks out. Say, hey, you need to stay within these lines. Like if it's an event that we should do no social media on because we're subcontracted by someone else, because the nature of what the event is, we try to make it really clear culturally, hey, this is not when you can post anything. The higher risk in the area that we're trying to figure out better is when we bring in a subcontractor or another company and they're posting images and either representing, hey, this is what I did, and they put 2 lights on the set and they're representing it inappropriately, or it's just not appropriate for that event to be talked about in that client's interests. So that's the area that we're trying to define a little bit more, and it's probably going to work its way into our 2014 contracts with our subcontractors. This is our policy on social media, and that'll be the tighter place for us to go as opposed to with our own staff, because we trust them with millions of dollars in gear. You can certainly trust them with your image.
Is the potential damage on social media just about the same as somebody making an offhand comment at a party?
No. You can ask any celebrity the difference between social media and making an offhand comment at a party, because it's in
once
writing,
you say it, it's out there forever.
That's right.
That's the downside, but that's reality. That's what's going on today. So you have to accept it.
Yeah, good. So just kind of wrap up on the social media. If there was any question about social media that you could get answered definitively that would help you in your business, what would it be?
I think everybody wants to know, how do you measure ROI? If your marketing person comes to you and says, I want to hire a social media manager, and the first question is, why do we need it? And how do I measure whether or not that was a good investment?
Same thing with me. We have marketing meetings run by my director of marketing every other week. First topic of conversation, you could set your watch on it, is we need to hire someone to update our social media outlets. I need to know, what is that going to do for me? And what return can I expect to see? Haven't gotten that answer yet, but that's what I'm looking for.
Keep asking. Keep asking.
Why is it important, right?
I think, Tom, I would love to know what is out there that we're not doing that we should be doing. But what's the next thing that we're going to see everyone talk about?
Which is really what comes after Tumblr.
Yeah. Or whatever. By the time we talk about this again, there'll be something else out there.
So quick question. Nobody's mentioned Twitter. Where's Twitter in your life right now, in your business?
What's Twitter?
What's Twitter?
Yeah. I've never used Twitter myself, but yeah, I see it fading pretty quickly.
We have a presence. Couldn't tell you how to get there. The only time I ever used Twitter is to see the updates from the golf pro at the country club I belong to, and actually, using that, I can actually see the benefit of why they would do it. But I really don't know much about our Twitter presence at all.
Yeah.
Way de-emphasized from
Way
what it was.
de-emphasized.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, it was you have to be on Twitter. Mm-hmm. Right now, it seems to be something that we continue to do because we have followers, but it is not the main focus.
So I have the same experience, and I worked. I did the Twitter for a while, and then I found I wasn't getting anything out of it, except I was getting annoying tags, and I was getting people who were direct messaging me via Twitter, which I thought was one more distraction I didn't need. So I stopped using it. The question I would have is, why is Twitter still relevant for so many people, and what are we missing? Why don't we understand why Twitter is still relevant for people? Is it a generational thing?
I think the key word you used there was relevant, because what you're getting, when I use social media, when I go on Facebook, when I go on LinkedIn, I'm looking for something that's really a good use of my time. Is there something that I'm going to get from wasting my time or spending my time to read it? And so, you get a lot of emails, you get a lot of junk mail, and there's very few newsletters that I get that I really read, and like Pro AV News and some of the ones that come in. When they do a top 10 topic on some of those newsletters and there's something relevant in there, I look forward to getting those. It's the same kind of thing for me on social media. If there's something relevant that's going to come through on Facebook or LinkedIn, it's going to keep me going back.
Yeah, on that note, LinkedIn has changed the way they push news through there, and I find I pay a lot more attention to the news articles that come through LinkedIn now.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I find they're much more relevant. It keeps me coming back to my LinkedIn homepage to see what's going on.
Yep.
So relevance is what's important.
It's the same thing like in our websites. I mean, that's what we're doing on our websites. You have to find a reason for people to keep coming back and visiting your website. It's the same thing. It has to be relevant.
All right, that was a great introduction into social media. We've got some very salient points about being relevant, about using social media for things like recruiting and retention, which never occurred to me. But there's a lot more to still be learned. We've asked our second roundtable group the same question. Let's hear what they have to share with us.
So while I got you all here, let me just get you to make a few comments on some things that we talked about earlier and you probably heard us talking about. And let's start with social media because that's the big elephant in the room right now. So tell me, and in your company, where does social media fit in? Do you have a social media strategy? What's your thoughts on?
We have no social media strategy. We sort of play around the edges. We don't see clients that are using it. We just don't feel it's that important.
Good.
We have Twitter and Facebook posts that we do. We've actually just almost to today loading up our new website, which has SEO built into it. So we're looking to get a lot more analytics out of what we do, see where the traffic's coming from, and try and drive people to us through better use of keywords in our website, having manufacturers' names be a part of it, and whatever we can do to get some more interest in us outside of the people that already know us.
What do you hope to learn from the analytics? What's the question that you're trying to answer?
What interests people, and what is the terminology that a customer uses versus what we use? We call something an audio system, they call it a sound system. And so there's just a lot of learning just on the keywords themselves.
Okay. And then Mark, I defer to you as the online expert in all things. What are your
we built our company by driving online traffic to our website and developing leads that way, and we've got a pretty good machine for doing that. But in terms of a social media strategy, I don't think we have a strategy per se. I think there's a lot of work to do there. We've got a Facebook page, which I kind of see it as serving a different purpose. We actually kind of use it as a channel for recruiting. So we just show fun things happening in the office. We show team softball games, the pizza parties, things like that. And frankly, I think we have a Twitter account. I think we have a business development person that does something with it. But I've always been very hesitant to just use these tools without a strategy in place. I don't want to put just content into the universe that has no real utility. Like I see a lot of people just tweeting about just things that I don't think are particularly interesting. So. I think when we really invest in doing a blog or doing using social media as a channel to deliver content, we want to make sure that we've got interesting things to say before we use it. So, and we just don't have anything interesting. We have interesting things to say, but we're not investing the time probably to use them correctly.
So it sounds to me, since none of you seem to be personally interested in social media for yourselves, which is understandable, that's fine. How do we find out who is interested in it? Just because you're not interested in it doesn't mean it's valuable. How do you find out if it's valuable?
Well, I think you talk to the customers. You talk to your existing customers. You talk to your potential customers. If they're interested in it, we're interested in it. And I'm not seeing that.
Okay.
I look at it a little bit differently. We do have a lot of clients that kind of have signed on and liked our Facebook page and kind of follow it. I know there's some interest in our posts occasionally. I'll put out some tickets to a ball game and I'll get 5-10 replies in the first 5 minutes.
So somebody's reading it.
Somebody's reading it, at least for free stuff. So, but I do use Facebook and Twitter myself. I just have personal accounts, and I am signed on as a user for both our company accounts. And I don't post anything on the Twitter, but I do use the Facebook occasionally to share things. Job placements, I use that as well, and I'll also share those on LinkedIn when we have a job opening that we want to fill, a key one.
So Mark, is there something that would cause you to have a strategy?
Yeah, probably some more time. Frankly, I'm actually sold on the value of it, and I think that I don't think our customers are going to tell us explicitly, "Hey, where's your Facebook page?" But I think the best use of something like Facebook for us, outside of just being a recruiting channel, is it's a back channel for our customers to see a different side of us. So if you go and Google our company, you'll probably see, I'm not sure, you'll probably see our website first, and then you'll probably see a Facebook page about our website. And I think the Facebook page will probably answer the question, do I like these guys? Do they seem like people I'd want to do business with? And you can see kind of a window into the company that you really don't, we don't have on our existing website.
Right. And Facebook has an interesting twist, because the question that the user asks is, do I want to be seen liking your company? Because when I like that's a whole different aspect to it.
Yeah, for sure.
So are you doing something, or are you a company that I can be proud to like?
Right.
Which anybody can look at your website, and only Google Analytics knows, right? Pretty much.
Yeah, and there's always the fear too that somebody else's business development person is using your postings or your website to get some customer leads.
So Mark brought up using it for recruiting and apparently for retention, because you're presenting the culture of your company through your Facebook so that all your employees can share it. Is that fair?
Yeah, and actually the way we had kind of a centralized strategy. We had one person, started out being a marketing manager that managed the Facebook page, and then we have an HR manager doing it. Now what we have is 10 people who can just post anything, anytime, whatever they want. So we made it kind of organic and just, made it into something that would, like I said, just be a window into our company that isn't available through our corporate website.
So wow, obviously social media it's a big topic. There's a lot of issues to discuss, and we're challenged. We're challenged by this video because we're dealing with 6 middle-aged guys talking about social media, and I think honestly only one of them actually has a Facebook account out of those entire 6. Yet they're successfully doing something with it in their businesses, and I think we can learn a lot from that. So, big takeaway from all this. It's really time to stop overlooking the importance of social media for business. I think we can safely say it's not a fad anymore. It's simply a tool that we have to learn how to use appropriately. And all of these owners admit struggling with it. And okay, it's okay if you're not a social media person. You know what? I'm not an advertising person, and yet I have to advertise. I'm not a marketing person. I have to market. There's a lot of things that you have to do in your business life that you weren't trained to do. We hire the right folks and give them the goals and give them the resources to get it done. Social media is no different. So one of the things that surprised me in this discussion was the fact that social media has not become a venue for employees doing embarrassing things, which, trust me, 3, 4, 5 years ago, that was everybody's concern, that my employees are going to get on there and show and do something dumb or say something inappropriate about a client. And 6 companies here talking about it, and no one's seeing that problem. They find that their employees are responsible and that the young folks that they were most fearful of are actually fairly responsible social media users. So that's good news right there. Curiously, none of these panelists saw any direct signs that their clients or employees are demanding Facebook posts from companies. In other words, our audience isn't pulling social media from us. It's an opportunity to push something, but the question is what? So let's see what we've learned from these groups. Now, the first group, they talked about being relevant. Social media, don't be behind the times. You have to have a social media presence, or you have to obviously be the person or that company that doesn't. Our friend Murray obviously took that route. He is not a social media person, and it's not part of his company. But again, he's replacing it with something else, so he's finding a way to make his business work. Social media can help create brand and community. Again, several people talked about this. It's helping convey to their employees who they want to be, generate some fun. Sometimes that transfers over into your clients, and they see that you're a fun or an interesting company. You're connecting with a lot of folks at a low cost. Okay, it's not the yellow pages. It's not really an advertising medium in its purest form, but you are getting touches out there. I think the most important point from the first group in particular was that you need to be all in or not at all. This dabbling and just sticking your toe into social media just doesn't look right and it doesn't feel right. That dabbling thing, I think, probably will put more people off than pull them in. And we did learn that you need some guidelines and policies. You probably don't need a lot because we're not seeing a lot of abuse, but as an organization, you need a social media policy, but not one that says you're not allowed to do social media at the office, which is one of those things I really get my back up about. I still find clients that have blocked Facebook and even LinkedIn in their local intranet, which makes no sense to me whatsoever. But that's a discussion for another day. So, the first group was primarily the content development folks. These are guys that have content development and creative people in their organization. Much more likely to embrace. Nick, Mike, Alan, all have social media strategies that seem to be very well developed. And I think that's a reflection of the type of organizations that they've evolved into. Now, the second group, like I said, no surprise that Murray's not a social media person. He's very old school, but very successful in that way. Rusty, very much like the first group, and he also has a creative group, has a well-developed social media. Do you see a trend here? The guys that do content understand that social media is important as well. There must be a connection. Their companies are growing. They're attracting more customers. Is there a chicken or an egg effect here? I don't know, but the two seem to go hand in hand. Now, Mark's company, the Gen Y company, uses it for recruiting and for internal branding, which I think is very valuable. I think he's actually probably the most sophisticated social media user of the group in terms of what his company does, because we have social media by a Gen Y company, and it was distinctly different because social media and Gen Y, it's already part of their lives. Okay? You don't need a social media initiative because social media, it's like breathing. It's like, having a cell phone. This is what you do. So I think they look at it a little bit differently. And the Gen Y, having grown up with social media, understands its function, and they don't need a strategy or initiative to use it properly. Okay? Everybody says you have to have something interesting to say, and this is valid. Sometimes it's hard to look at yourself and understand what's interesting about you. Okay? That's why you need to have a social media platform and initiative and put the right people in place to find the things that are interesting. Like Rusty said in several of the videos, you need to tell a better story. Social media is another great way for you to do that. So, in conclusion, what do you need to do? Okay, great. Let's start by talking to your customers and understanding how social media is part of their life. And if they don't see it as a business tool, that's just information. That's not a reason to not be involved in social media. Talk to your employees. Ask them what's the story that they want to tell that they think social media can help with. I think you're going to get some really, really good feedback. And 3, even if you're not a social media person yourself, you might dip your toe in a little bit, or at least ask the grandkids to take you for a spin and show you how to set up a LinkedIn profile that looks good. And I think you'll be surprised at the opportunities these are creating. So when it comes to social media, there are lots of resources available out there for you. We have everything on the internet. You got your grandkids, you got your Gen Y employees. There's even some things on my website that will help you move forward. Take the time to understand social media, come up with a better plan. And if you're enjoying these videos, don't forget to share them with your employees because they're going to help you be a better company. Thanks for watching.